Hey guys, so welcome to another video, and as you can see from the description, it is another Q&A with my Instagram community. So I put out a poll, or I put out a question or post on what questions that they had in terms of finance, in terms of taxes, property, retirement, every single thing that they had questions on. And I picked a few of them, about 4 or 5 questions, and I'm going to answer them live here on my phone, and you guys can listen in. Maybe you learn something. Maybe these are some of the questions that you also have. I got a ton of feedback from my previous Q&A, where people learned a ton of information from just that little short Q&A. So I hope that you take something out of this. So the question is, how do you ensure you get a tax refund each year? And is there any missing steps that we are not considering? So when it comes to your tax refunds, these are the certain things that you should want to consider. Okay, so maximize your contributions to your retirement annuity and maximize your contributions to your medical aid. I'll explain a little bit further. So when it comes to your retirement annuity, you can deduct your contributions that you make to your retirement annuity, your pension fund or your provident fund. And this deduction is up to 27.5% of the greater of your remuneration or your taxable income. Now this is capped at 350,000 Rand annually. Okay. And now the second one is your medical aid. Now you can claim deductions for out-of-pocket medical expenses, medical scheme contributions that exceed 4 times the annual tax credit for you and your dependents. The second thing you can do is max out a tax-free investment. Now, how is that a benefit for you? By investing in a tax-free savings account, you earn tax-free interest, tax-free dividends, and capital gains tax that will not get taxed. Now, the annual contribution limit is 36,000 Rand with a lifetime cap of 500,000 Rand. Now, why would you want to do this? Because it doesn't really have a benefit for you today. But let's say you put that money into an interest-bearing account that is taxed. Yes, there are some deductions that you are allowed, but it's not tax-free completely. So you want to benefit from utilizing the tax-free portion that you get by being South African. Now, capital gains management. This one here, people don't really think about it. It's completely forgotten. Where you get your 40,000 Rand allowance every year, but you can plan your disposals to stay within this limit. Now, if you know you've made a capital gain for the year, that's let's say 100,000 Rand, you want to dispose of some of that gain. So when you sell 40,000 Rand, and therefore you bring it in and it's tax-free because that's your 40,000 Rand allowance, right? Now, some people can defer that gain to the next year. So they do 40,000 this year, they'll do 40,000 next year, because proper tax planning will allow them to utilize that 40,000 year on year. And then let's talk about home office deductions. You can claim your home office expenses if you work from home. Massive thing is, you deduct a portion of your home office expense when it comes to like your Wi-Fi, your utilities, whatever runs your home office, right? Now it's proportional to the workspace used. Remember that. And SARS has certain requirements and exclusivity and, regular use that you have to adhere to get these deductions. The main thing is that you need to understand what is your PAY that you've paid, what is your taxable income for the year, what are your deductions for the year, and work out what is your estimated refund or payment going to be. So next question that I got was, how does the tax work on the two-pot system, which is a retirement system, and how does the withdrawal from a current fund affect this? So the two-pot system initially is like a three-pot system, right? So the first one is the savings pot. Now, this one comprises 1/3 of contributions that are made after the implementation date, which is 1st March 2024. Now, withdrawals from this pot, they're allowed annually, but they're subject to tax, right? The second pot is the retirement pot. Now, this consists of 2/3 of your contributions post-implementation. Now, funds in this pot are preserved until retirement, and they follow the normal existing retirement fund withdrawal rules. And then there's something called a vested pot, which holds contributions and your accumulated savings up to the 29th of February 2024, and the existing rules continue to apply to this pot. So after 1st of March 2024, your contributions to retirement funds are split between the savings and the retirement pots, right? Because according to the 2/3 and 1/3 rule. So the tax on withdrawals, if you want to withdraw from your savings pot, okay, your withdrawals are taxed as per the individual's marginal tax rate at the time of the withdrawal. Okay, if you want to withdraw from your retirement pot, then withdrawals are taxed similarly to what the current system is, with a tax-free portion and then a sliding scale for higher amounts. Now, if you want to withdraw from your vested pot, if you want to withdraw from this before retirement, they are taxed according to the withdrawal tax lump sum tables on the SARS website. So the main change here is the savings pot and how that withdrawal comes into your taxable income at whatever your marginal tax rate is. That's the biggest change in the tax effect of when you withdraw from the retirement. So the next question is, are long-term property rentals or short-term holiday rentals more lucrative? So when it comes to looking at the pros and cons of both, you got to look at certain factors that you've got to consider, and that's what we'll chat about now. So the financial returns, so long-term rentals, you got steady income that comes in every month. It's predictable income. You have your lease agreements in place. They usually range from like 6 months to a year to 2 years, okay? Then you got lower vacancies. So tenants usually commit for longer periods of time. They reduce the risk of, the frequency of the vacancy when you have these, longer term stays. And again, when I talk about predictable expenses, your maintenance costs, your operational costs, they more predictable and they often lower because tenants are responsible for some of the utilities, some of the repairs that take place in longer term rentals. Now, short term rentals, it's might be higher revenue, okay, but it can generate a little bit more problems. Yes, there's premium revenue, there's premium rates that take place during peak seasons, but also there's seasonality with it. Income fluctuates based on seasonality, location, local events that take place around the area. There's also additional fees that you can incur. Operational costs, you might not know what that could be. There's cleaning, utilities, management fees for people that are taking care of the actual short-term property stay. The next thing you want to consider is the complexity of the management. So with long-term rentals, much lower management intensity, because there's less frequency in tenant turnover, there's less effort that's required, less time screening, marketing, and property preparation. Much more simpler approach to investing. And then with short-term rentals, requires much higher management demands. So again, more people coming in, you're going to have more action that needs to be taken: marketing, guest communication, cleaning, property preparation. Everything needs to happen much more in a short-term rental. Also, the need to consistently upkeep the property and deal with more guest issues continuously happens on a short-term rental. Let's talk about the legal and regulatory considerations that have to take place. So long-term rentals, they have generally established landlord-tenant laws that have been in place for a long period of time. Your lease agreement covers most of them, and there's much fewer restrictions, right? With short-term rentals, you're not allowed to have these in most places. A lot of places don't like short-term rentals. It's too noisy. The place is just not set up for it, and they go outright and they ban short-term rentals. So let's talk about market demand and location. So long-term rentals, let's talk about the consistency demand. So they are more stable in areas with strong residential demand, such as cities with large working populations or near universities. They're not as much dependent on whether it's nice for tourists or the seasonality of it. Now, short-term rentals, high demand in tourist areas. That is key. Best suited for locations with great tourism, great attractions, business travel, events that are close by. It's a very driven demand. And when it comes to the impact of economic conditions, so you've got to look at it as, are there travel restrictions, change in tourist behavior? Is there stuff around the short-term rental that can actually attract them to actually stay there? And then the main thing you want to consider is the cost and the investment consideration. Okay, so long-term rentals, the initial setup costs are usually lower. Okay, so again, you can buy less luxuriously furnished places. You don't even need to spend that much money. And wear and tear over time is much lower in long-term rentals because of the less use of people. Now, short-term rentals, higher setup costs because the initial investment, you will need to furnish the apartment. You need to get good amenities. You need to have that luxury upgrade to attract guests. Okay, so a little bit more costs. Also, operational costs are higher: cleaning, utilities, maintenance, breakage, everything that comes along with short-term rentals. In summary, long-term rentals, they're ideal for investors seeking steady, predictable income with less management complexity and uncertainty. They suited for locations with stable residential demand. Now, short-term rentals, these are for people that want higher returns but require more intensive management. They want, or they can take on greater market risk, regulatory risks, and they're best for prime tourist locations with very high demand of tourist areas. So next question is it wise to put in extra money into your bond and have it paid off earlier than the agreed term? So you might not like what I'm about to say because a lot of people have created this false sense of security in a house, number one, and they think it's the greatest investment in their entire life because we've been programmed to believe, go to school, get a good job, get a good education, work, buy a house, buy your dream home, and live in there for 20 years. It's an investment. Unfortunately, it really isn't. If you've done the numbers and you see the benefit of renting versus buying, you will understand that there are such vast differences in what you can achieve while renting versus what you can achieve while buying. Now, if you have additional capital that you want to plug into a bond, and maybe you don't want to buy a rental property or you don't want to invest outside of your house, then maybe put it in. It does decrease your repayments over time. You are going to save a ton of money on interest by doing that, because remember, over 20 years you're paying literally an exorbitant amount of interest. Now, if you shift your mindset, and I know this is not the question that you asked, but if you shift your mindset to what can I rent for the exact same value in terms of bond, or what I'm paying for my bond, you will actually do the numbers and you'll see, wow, you can live in a greater or a much better neighborhood or a much bigger home for renting versus buying. Had a conversation the other day with one of my family members where we took a 2.5 million rand apartment, and that fully costed was average on a monthly basis about 28,000 rand a month. That's bond, water and lights, rates and taxes, levies. Okay, 28 to 29,000 rand a month. It rents for 18,000 rand a month. That's a 10,000 rand saving just by changing your mindset and saying, okay, I'm going to rent now for the roof over my head. I've got an extra 10 grand, which I'm going to invest into maybe my retirement, into maybe cryptocurrency, into maybe stocks and ETFs, something different, into an investment property. 10,000 rand, buy yourself a flat, a bachelor flat, a one-bedroom flat, put it on rent. You'll have residual income coming in every single month. Change your perception of what society and what the old mentality was of trying to build wealth. And those are just some of the questions that I decided to record on Instagram story and record for you guys on YouTube. And I hope that it provided some sort of value in terms of understanding a little bit of what finance is. And if you have any other questions, please guys drop it in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts and make more videos for you on the different topics that you guys have questions for. And from me to you, I appreciate every single one of you. Please don't forget, like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.